The twin moons of Nerith floated high in the sky, casting a soft blue glow over the river that wound through the heart of the Velari village. The water shimmered with reflections of bioluminescent plants swaying beneath its surface. Gentle ripples formed as Kivo swam lazily, his sleek brown fur glistening under the moonlight. The village was calm, the soft hum of the water blending with the distant sounds of chirping insects. It was a peaceful night, like countless others before it. Kivo surfaced, his small round ears twitching as he gazed toward the sky. Stars blinked lazily above, and the air was cool and crisp. He floated on his back, letting the current carry him toward the riverbank, where smooth stones formed a resting place. He climbed onto the shore, shaking the water from his fur. The night was quiet. Too quiet. A strange sound broke the silence. A sharp whistle that cut through the air like a blade. Kivo's ears perked up. He turned toward the dark outline of the forest beyond the village. The whistle turned into a roar, followed by a distant rumble that vibrated through the ground. A streak of fire cut across the night sky, growing brighter and larger as it descended. The other Velari began emerging from their woven huts, their soft fur bristling with fear. "Kivo, get away from there," an older Velari called from behind him. But Kivo didn't move. He watched as the fiery streak plummeted into the forest beyond the river, disappearing behind the tree line with a deafening crash. A bright flash illuminated the trees, followed by the sound of splintering wood and the distant screech of metal grinding against earth. Smoke began to rise above the canopy. Kivo, no. He ignored the warnings and darted toward the forest. His heart raced as his paws pounded against the soft earth. His breath came fast and shallow. The forest was darker than usual, the glow from the river fading as he pushed through the undergrowth. His fur brushed against thick vines and low-hanging branches. Smoke filled his nostrils, stinging his eyes. He reached a small clearing and froze. In the center lay a massive metal object, half buried in the dirt. Its surface was scorched and covered in strange markings. Small fires flickered around it, casting eerie shadows on the trees. Sparks jumped from jagged cracks along its sides. Kivo crept closer, his wide golden eyes reflecting the glow of the flames. A sound came from inside the wreckage, a low groan. Kivo's ears twitched. He took another step forward. The side of the object suddenly hissed and shifted. A section of the metal slid back, releasing a plume of white steam. Kivo stumbled back, crouching low to the ground. And then something moved inside. A figure emerged from the wreckage, dragging itself through the opening. It was tall and thin compared to the Velari, covered in a strange suit of fabric and metal. Its helmeted head turned toward Kivo, and for a moment, neither of them moved. The figure collapsed to the ground with a heavy thud. Its helmet slid loose, rolling away into the grass. Kivo's breath caught in his throat. Beneath the helmet was a face, pale, with short brown hair matted with sweat and blood. Its eyes fluttered open, revealing deep blue irises. Its mouth opened slightly, and a weak sound escaped. Kivo hesitated, his instincts telling him to run. But something about the creature's face, a mixture of pain and vulnerability, held him in place. He crept closer. The creature's eyes focused on him. "They're coming," the creature whispered, its voice strained and broken. Its head fell to the side, and its body went limp. Kivo's eyes widened. He stepped closer, unsure what to do. His small paws touched the creature's shoulder, feeling the warmth of its skin beneath the torn fabric. He could hear its shallow breathing. It was alive, but barely. A sharp crack echoed through the trees. Kivo's head shot up. A thin beam of red light swept across the forest floor, slicing through the smoke. Kivo's fur stood on end. He crouched low, pulling the creature's arm over his shoulder. Another beam of red light cut through the undergrowth, followed by a series of mechanical clicks. Figures emerged from the darkness, thin metallic shapes with glowing red eyes. They moved with an unnatural smoothness, their sharp limbs slicing through branches as they approached. Their eyes locked onto the downed figure and Kivo. Kivo's heart hammered in his chest. He pulled at the creature's arm, dragging it across the ground. The creature stirred slightly, murmuring in pain. Kivo gritted his teeth. The metallic figures advanced, their limbs unfolding as they raised long, thin weapons that glowed with a pulsing red light. Come on. A sharp sound cut through the air, followed by the hiss of burning air. Kivo dove to the side as a red bolt of energy slammed into the ground, scorching the earth. He rolled, his fur singed by the heat. The creature's hand suddenly gripped his arm. Kivo looked down to see the creature's eyes open again. "Hold on," it whispered. A shimmering field of light suddenly erupted around them. The air hummed with energy as the red beams from the metallic figures deflected harmlessly off the glowing barrier. Kivo's eyes widened as the creature raised a small device from its belt, pressing a button. The field expanded, creating a sphere of pale blue light. The metallic figures stepped back, their red eyes flickering. One of them tilted its head as if confused. Then, without warning, they turned and melted back into the forest, disappearing into the shadows. The shimmering barrier faded. The creature's hand fell from the device, and it slumped to the ground. Kivo dropped to his knees beside it, his small hands pressed to the creature's chest. "Wake up," Kivo whispered. "Please wake up." The creature's eyes opened halfway. Its mouth curled into a small smile. "You're braver than you look." Kivo's ears twitched. "What are you?" The creature's hand brushed against Kivo's arm. "Human." Kivo's eyes widened. He had heard stories of humans, travelers from distant stars, but no one had seen one in generations. A soft rustling came from the trees. Kivo's head snapped toward the sound. The red lights were gone, but the feeling of danger lingered in the air. He looked back down at the human. The human's breathing was weak. Kivo's small hands tightened into fists. He had a choice to make: run back to the village and leave the human, or stay and protect him. His golden eyes narrowed. He wrapped his arms under the human's shoulders and heaved with all his strength. "Come on," Kivo muttered through gritted teeth. "I'm not leaving you behind." The human's head lolled to the side, his breathing shallow but steady. Kivo took one last look toward the dark forest before dragging the human toward the village, his heart hammering with fear and determination. Behind him, the distant red lights flickered to life once more. The hunt had begun. Kivo's small legs burned with effort as he dragged the human's limp body through the undergrowth. His fur was damp with sweat, his paws trembling as he stumbled over roots and rocks. The human was heavier than he expected, but he refused to stop. His ears twitched, listening for the mechanical hum that had haunted him since the metallic figures disappeared into the forest. The red lights were still out there, watching, hunting. The human stirred, his hand twitching weakly against Kivo's arm. His eyes fluttered open, glassy and unfocused. Where are we?" His voice was barely a whisper. "Shay," Kivo hissed. He crouched low, dragging the human behind a thick tree trunk. His golden eyes darted across the dark forest, scanning the shadows. His heart thumped painfully in his chest. "They're looking for us." The human's head lolled back. "Who?" Kivo's fur bristled. A soft click echoed through the trees, a mechanical sound, unnaturally precise. He shoved the human's head down and pressed himself flat against the ground. A thin beam of red light swept across the clearing, cutting through the mist. Kivo held his breath as the beam hovered inches from their hiding spot. His claws dug into the damp earth. A tall figure emerged from the trees, a slender metallic shape with long limbs and sharp angular joints. Its red eyes glowed as it scanned the area. Its head rotated smoothly, the soft sound of servos clicking beneath its thin metal shell. A second figure joined it, then a third. They stood in a perfect line, their bodies eerily still. Kivo's heart hammered in his chest. The human's breathing was shallow, his chest rising and falling unevenly. Kivo gritted his teeth. If they were caught, there was no chance of escape. One of the figures raised its arm. A long, thin barrel extended from its wrist, glowing faintly red. Kivo's eyes widened. He could feel the energy crackling in the air as the weapon powered up. A sudden burst of sound cut through the night, something moving fast through the trees. The metallic figures snapped their heads toward the sound. Kivo pressed himself deeper into the dirt as the figures stepped toward the noise. A low growl rumbled through the air. Kivo's fur stood on end. A blur of movement burst from the shadows. A large creature with dark fur and long claws. It slammed into one of the metallic figures, knocking it to the ground with a deafening crash. The figure's red eyes flickered and dimmed as the creature's claws ripped through its metal frame. Sparks flew. The other figures raised their weapons and fired, red beams slicing through the dark. The two remaining figures stood still for a moment, their heads rotating unnaturally as they scanned the area. Then, without a sound, they melted back into the forest. The red lights disappeared into the dark. Kivo's breath came fast and sharp. He slowly sat up, his chest aching. The human's hand brushed against his arm. "Are they gone?" the human whispered. Kivo nodded. "For now." He stared at the broken metal frame of the destroyed figure. Its limbs twitched slightly, a faint red glow pulsing beneath its chest. Kivo's ears flattened against his head. "But they'll be back." The human coughed weakly. His lips were pale. Kivo frowned, touching his shoulder. "You're hurt." "I'll survive." The human's hand shook as he pulled something from the side of his suit, a small, white capsule. He pressed it to his neck, and a soft hiss escaped as the medicine entered his bloodstream. His breathing steadied slightly. "I'm Marcus," the human said, his voice stronger. "Kivo." Marcus's eyes focused on Kivo, studying his round face and sleek brown fur. "I thought your kind were smaller." "You thought wrong." Kivo's ears twitched. "We need to move." Marcus sat up with a groan, his hand pressed to his side. Blood stained his suit. "I can walk." "You sure?" Marcus's mouth twitched. "No, but let's go." Kivo helped Marcus to his feet. Marcus leaned heavily against him, his arm draped over Kivo's small shoulders. They started toward the river, moving slowly through the thick undergrowth. Kivo's fur stood on end, his senses sharp. The forest was too quiet. The usual sounds of insects and night creatures were gone. Only the faint rustling of leaves and the distant hum of machinery broke the silence. "What were those things?" Kivo asked. Marcus's eyes darkened. "Hunters. Hunters." Marcus winced as he stepped over a root. "Synthetic war machines. I controlled. Built for one purpose: elimination." Kivo's fur bristled. "And they're hunting you." Marcus's jaw tightened. "They wiped out a colony ship. I'm the only survivor." "Why would they hunt you?" "Because I know how to stop them." Kivo's ears twitched. "And how do you do that?" Marcus smiled weakly. "I'd tell you, but it'd probably get you killed." Kivo narrowed his eyes. "I think getting killed is already on the table." Marcus chuckled, but the sound quickly turned into a cough. His legs buckled, and Kivo had to catch him. Marcus's weight nearly drove Kivo to the ground. "We're not going to make it like this," Kivo said. Marcus reached toward his belt and pulled out a small metallic device. He pressed a button, and the device unfolded into a thin rod. A soft blue light shimmered at the tip. Marcus extended it toward the forest floor. "Hold on," Marcus said. The blue light pulsed, and the ground beneath them shifted. Kivo's eyes widened as the dirt reformed into a narrow, winding path that glowed faintly in the dark. "What is this?" Kivo whispered. "Short-range cloaking field," Marcus said. "It'll hide us from scanners. But not for long." They hurried down the path, Marcus leaning heavily on Kivo. The glowing light beneath their feet shimmered with each step. The forest stretched ahead, dark and quiet. The sound of the river grew louder in the distance. "We're almost there," Kivo said. "If we reach the village, the elders might be able to help you." Marcus's hand tightened on Kivo's shoulder. "No. If the hunters follow me there, your village will be destroyed." Kivo stopped walking. "Then what do we do?" Marcus's eyes narrowed. "We make sure they don't follow us." A sudden mechanical hum echoed behind them. Kivo's ears flattened. Red lights flickered through the trees. The path beneath their feet dimmed. "They found us," Kivo growled. Marcus's hand tightened around the glowing rod. "Keep moving." They broke into a run as red beams of light cut through the trees. A bolt of energy scorched the ground inches from Kivo's paws. He leaped over a fallen log, dragging Marcus with him. The hunters emerged from the darkness, their red eyes glowing brighter. Marcus raised the rod, and a wave of blue energy burst outward, knocking the hunters back. Sparks flew from their limbs, but they advanced again, their weapons charging. "They're not stopping," Kivo shouted. Marcus gritted his teeth. "We don't have to fight them." "Then what?" Marcus pointed toward the river. "We jump." Kivo's eyes widened. "You're crazy." "Trust me." Kivo hesitated for half a second, then bolted toward the riverbank. The ground beneath them shook as the hunters fired. Marcus grabbed Kivo's hand. "Now." They leaped off the edge of the riverbank. Kivo's heart jumped into his throat as they plummeted toward the dark water below. Behind them, the red lights flared. The hunters stood on the edge of the bank. Cold water closed around Kivo's body as they plunged into the river. His fur flattened against his skin as the current dragged him downward. Bubbles rushed past his face, and his lungs burned as he kicked toward the surface. His paws broke the water first, and he gasped for air, coughing and spitting out the icy water. Marcus surfaced a moment later, sputtering. His eyes were wide, and he swam toward Kivo with uneven strokes. Blood trailed from the wound on his side, mixing with the dark water. Kivo's heart pounded. The red lights of the hunters were visible at the top of the riverbank, their glowing eyes scanning the water. One of the machines raised its arm, and a thin red beam shot downward, slicing into the river. The water hissed and bubbled where the energy struck, leaving behind a cloud of steam. "They see us," Kivo yelled. "Then we keep moving," Marcus shouted back. Kivo grabbed Marcus's arm and pulled him toward the shore. Marcus's strength was fading. His legs kicked weakly beneath the water. Kivo's paws burned with effort as he dragged Marcus through the current, his ears flattening against his skull. Another beam shot into the water, narrowly missing them. The heat sizzled against Kivo's back, and he growled as pain flared through his fur. They reached the shallows, and Kivo heaved Marcus onto the rocky shore. Marcus collapsed onto his back, breathing hard. Blood soaked through the side of his suit, dark and wet. His eyes were half closed. Kivo pressed a paw against the wound. Marcus groaned in pain. "Stay awake," Kivo growled. "You're not dying on me." Marcus's lips curled into a weak smile. "No promises." The hum of the hunters grew louder. Kivo's ears twitched. He looked toward the tree line. The red lights were moving. The hunters were coming down the slope, slowly, methodically. Kivo's claws dug into the ground. "We can't fight them like this." Marcus's hand tightened around Kivo's arm. His eyes darkened. "You'll have to." "I don't fight," Kivo said through gritted teeth. Marcus's gaze sharpened. "You're an otter. Otters don't usually drag unconscious humans through war zones either. Yet here we are." Kivo's fur bristled. He stood up, his tail swishing behind him. His golden eyes narrowed as the hunters stepped closer. Their red eyes pulsed with faint mechanical light. Kivo's small frame trembled. The hunters towered over him, metallic limbs gleaming beneath the pale moonlight. Marcus coughed, his hand brushing against the side of his belt. His fingers closed around a thin, flat disc. "Take this." Kivo's eyes narrowed. "What is it?" Marcus smiled faintly. "Insurance." Kivo hesitated, then snatched the disc. It was cold against his fur. He slipped it into a small pouch at his side. Marcus sat up, wincing. "Just stall them. 5 seconds. Can you manage that?" Kivo's fur stood on end. 5 seconds. Marcus's eyes darkened. "Just trust me." The nearest hunter stepped forward, raising its arm. The thin barrel extended from its wrist. Kivo's eyes widened as the weapon charged with a soft whine. Kivo's paws moved before his mind caught up. He shot forward, sprinting toward the hunter. His small body darted through the mist. The hunter's weapon locked onto him, and a thin red beam cut through the air. Kivo leaped to the side, rolling beneath it. The beam scorched the dirt where he'd been standing. Kivo's claws scraped against the ground as he flipped upright. "Over here, you scrap heap," Kivo shouted. His tail flicked behind him as he darted toward the left side of the clearing. The hunter's head snapped toward him, and it fired. Kivo jumped, the beam slicing through the trunk of a tree behind him. Bark exploded outward in a shower of splinters. Marcus's hand hovered over the disc on his belt. His thumb pressed down. The disc pulsed faintly. Kivo leaped onto a tree branch, clinging to the rough bark. He twisted his body as the hunter fired again. Kivo jumped, spinning through the air. His tail lashed out, striking the hunter's head. The hunter's body jerked back, its red eyes flickering. Kivo landed on the ground and spun toward Marcus. "Now." Marcus hurled the disc toward the hunter's chest. It struck with a sharp metallic clang. The disc pulsed once, then detonated. A shockwave erupted through the clearing, sending dirt and debris flying into the air. The hunter's chest caved inward. Its red eyes flickered violently before going dark. The machine collapsed into a heap of smoking metal. Kivo's chest heaved as he stood over the ruined frame. His paws trembled. Marcus stumbled toward him, holding his side. His face was pale. You killed it," Marcus said, his voice hoarse. Kivo's breath hitched. He looked down at his shaking paws. "I didn't." The sound of rustling leaves pulled Kivo's attention toward the tree line. The other 2 hunters were still out there, watching. Their red eyes flickered through the dark. Kivo's ears flattened. "They're not going to stop," Marcus said. His eyes narrowed. "They're adapting." Kivo's fur bristled. "Then we need to go." Marcus's legs wobbled, but Kivo caught him. He guided Marcus toward the riverbank, his small frame supporting the human's weight. They stumbled through the undergrowth, Marcus's breath coming in shallow bursts. "We can't outrun them forever," Kivo muttered. Marcus's eyes hardened. "We won't have to." Kivo glanced at him. "What are you planning?" Marcus winced as he pressed a hand against his wound. "We take the fight to them." Kivo's eyes widened. "You're serious?" Marcus's jaw tightened. "I know where their control signal is coming from. We shut it down. They stop hunting us." Kivo's fur rippled uneasily. "And how exactly do we shut down an eye control signal?" Marcus smiled darkly. "We blow it up." Kivo's breath hitched. "And where is this control signal?" Marcus's smile faded. "Underground." Kivo's tail lashed behind him. "Of course it is." Marcus stopped walking, his hand tightening around Kivo's arm. "I can't do this alone." Kivo's eyes met Marcus's. His fur was still damp from the river. His chest ached from the run. His limbs trembled with exhaustion, but Marcus's gaze was steady. Kivo's tail flicked. He sighed. "Fine, but if we die down there, I'm haunting you." Marcus chuckled. "Deal." They pushed through the undergrowth together. Behind them, the shattered remains of the hunter lay smoking beneath the pale moonlight. The other 2 figures stood at the edge of the clearing, their red eyes pulsing slowly as they turned toward the darkness. A low, mechanical hum filled the air. They know we're coming, Marcus said. Kivo's ears flattened. Good. Marcus smiled faintly. Now you're starting to sound human. The tunnel stretched out in front of them, dark and cold. Kivo's fur stood on end as his paws touched the damp stone floor. The air was thick with dust and the faint metallic scent of rusted machinery. Faint red lights flickered along the curved walls, pulsing slowly like the heartbeat of a sleeping monster. Marcus's footsteps echoed softly as he walked beside Kivo, one hand pressed against his injured side. His breathing was shallow, but his eyes were sharp. "We're close," Marcus whispered. Kivo's ears twitched. "How do you know?" Marcus tapped the side of his helmet. "Signals getting stronger." Kivo's golden eyes narrowed as he glanced at the dark walls. "Feels like a trap." "It probably is," Marcus replied. Kivo's tail swished behind him as he moved deeper into the tunnel. His claws scraped against the stone. His sharp eyes scanned the darkness ahead. Faint red lines ran along the floor, glowing beneath the dust. Ancient wiring. Power conduits. This place wasn't just some forgotten ruin. It was alive. Marcus touched a small panel on his wrist, and a soft blue light flickered to life, casting a faint glow across the walls. The tunnel widened into a large chamber. Towering metal columns stretched toward the ceiling. Rows of strange-looking machines lined the sides, covered in layers of dust and corrosion. Kivo's nose twitched at the stale scent of decay. Marcus's light flickered across the nearest machine. Its curved surface was covered in strange alien symbols. Deep claw marks ran along its metal shell. Kivo frowned. "Do you recognize any of this?" he asked. Marcus ran his hand along the edge of the machine. His expression darkened. "Weapons," he said softly. Kivo's eyes widened. "Weapons?" Marcus nodded. "Old ones, very old." Kivo stepped closer, his paws brushing against the dust-covered floor. His eyes traced the strange symbols etched into the machine's surface. The patterns were jagged and complex. Not human, not familiar. Marcus tapped a small panel on the machine side. The metal shuddered beneath his hand. A faint hum resonated through the chamber. Lights flickered across the machine's surface. A hidden compartment slid open with a soft hiss. Inside, Kivo saw a long metallic object. It was slender and sharp, with a smooth black surface that pulsed with dim red light. Marcus lifted it carefully. His hand trembled slightly as he examined the weapon. "What is it?" Kivo asked. Marcus's eyes darkened. "Plasma cutter. High output." Kivo's fur bristled. "Is it functional?" Marcus pressed a small button on the side of the weapon. A thin blade of red energy shot from its tip, humming softly. The light reflected off the walls. Kivo's tail flicked. He reached into the compartment and pulled out a second object. It was smaller than the plasma cutter, a thin silver cylinder covered in strange glyphs. Kivo's paw brushed against a small indentation on the side, and the object hummed softly. "What about this one?" Kivo asked. Marcus's eyes narrowed. He took the object from Kivo and examined it carefully. His thumb brushed across the surface. The cylinder unfolded with a soft click, revealing a thin, glowing wire running along its length. "Pulse grenade," Marcus said. His eyes sharpened. "Short range, strong enough to knock out a small ship's power grid." Kivo's eyes widened. "And we're just carrying this." Marcus smiled faintly. "Would you rather leave it here?" Kivo growled. "Fair point." Marcus slid the pulse grenade into a small pouch on his belt. He turned toward the darkened machines. "There's more here," he said quietly. Kivo's ears twitched. His sharp eyes scanned the chamber. The rows of machines were ancient, but not dead. The faint pulse of red light beneath their metal shells suggested they were sleeping, waiting. Marcus touched another panel on the side of a machine. A soft hum filled the air. Another compartment opened, revealing a row of thin metallic rods. Marcus lifted one carefully. The rod expanded in his hand. unfolding into a sharp, glowing spear. The light from the weapon reflected off Marcus's visor. Marcus's expression hardened. "I think we just found the armory." Kivo's fur bristled. "And what exactly do you plan to do with all this?" Marcus's eyes darkened. "Arm ourselves." Kivo's gaze sharpened. He opened his mouth to reply, but stopped. A low mechanical hum filled the air. His ears flattened. "Marcus." "I hear it," Marcus muttered. Kivo's golden eyes darted toward the far side of the chamber. A thin red light flickered in the darkness. Then another, and another. Slowly, the lights moved toward them. Mechanical limbs scraped against the stone floor. The sound of grinding metal echoed through the chamber. Marcus lifted the plasma cutter. The red blade hummed to life. "They're here," Kivo growled. A hunter stepped into the light. Its metal frame was larger than the others they'd faced. Its glowing red eyes pulsed with faint light. Its thin limbs ended in long, serrated claws. A low metallic growl resonated through the chamber as it stepped forward. Kivo's fur stood on end. "That's not the same model." Marcus's eyes narrowed. "It's worse." The hunter's head snapped toward them. Its claws extended with a sharp metallic sound. "Move," Marcus shouted. The hunter lunged. Marcus fired the plasma cutter. The red beam struck the hunter's chest, but the machine barely flinched. Its arm shot forward, and Marcus ducked as the serrated claws scraped against the wall behind him. Kivo darted toward the machine's side. His small frame twisted as he leaped upward. His claws sank into the hunter's side, and he scrambled toward its head. His tail lashed behind him as he drove his claws into the machine's exposed wiring. The hunter's head twisted toward him. A red beam shot from its eyes. Kivo rolled away as the blast sliced through the air. He hit the ground hard, his breath leaving his chest. Marcus's plasma cutter struck the hunter's side, cutting a deep groove through its armor. Sparks erupted from the wound. The hunter's arm shot toward Marcus. He raised the plasma cutter to block the strike, but the hunter's other arm lashed out. Its claws scraped against Marcus's side, cutting through his armor. Marcus grunted in pain. His legs buckled. The plasma cutter fell from his hand. Kivo's golden eyes darkened. His claws dug into the floor. His chest heaved. His sharp eyes focused on the thin gap beneath the hunter's exposed chest plate. Kivo launched himself forward. His small frame shot beneath the hunter's body. His paw reached into the pouch at his side and pulled out the pulse grenade. Kivo jammed the grenade into the hunter's exposed wiring. He scrambled backward. "Marcus." Marcus's eyes widened. "Down," Kivo shouted. Marcus hit the ground just as the grenade detonated. A shockwave erupted through the chamber. The hunter's body convulsed as its red eyes flickered violently. Its limbs twisted, and a high-pitched mechanical scream echoed through the room. The machine collapsed to the ground, smoke pouring from its shattered frame. Marcus's chest rose and fell as he lay on the ground. He looked toward Kivo, his breath shallow. "Not bad," Marcus muttered. Kivo's golden eyes narrowed. "We're not done yet." The hallway shook as another explosion ripped through the ancient walls. Dust and debris rained down from the ceiling as Marcus and Kivo sprinted through the dark corridor. Red emergency lights pulsed along the walls, casting long shadows across the cracked metal floor. The distant sound of grinding metal and the sharp, echoing clicks of hunter claws followed them. They were close, too close. Marcus's breath came hard and fast. His side burned where the hunter's claws had cut through his armor. His left arm was stiff, barely responding as he gripped the plasma cutter in his right hand. Kivo ran just ahead of him, his golden eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. The small otter's fur was matted with dirt and sweat. His tail flicked behind him as his sharp claws scraped against the floor. "They're closing in," Kivo growled. Marcus gritted his teeth. "I know." A sudden burst of light erupted behind them. A red beam cut through the darkness, striking the wall just inches from Marcus's head. The metal exploded, sending shards of molten debris spinning through the air. Marcus ducked, his shoulders slamming into the wall. He stumbled but kept moving. Kivo's ears flattened. "We need to make a stand." Marcus's jaw tightened. Not yet. They rounded a sharp corner and stumbled into a wide, circular chamber. Thick metal pillars stretched toward the ceiling, each one lined with flickering red lights. In the center of the room stood a large control console. Strange symbols blinked across its surface, pulsating with dim red light. Kivo's sharp eyes scanned the room. His tail twitched. What is this place? Marcus's eyes darkened as he stepped toward the console. His hand brushed against the smooth metal surface. A soft hum filled the air as the symbols flickered brighter beneath his touch. He recognized the pattern. It wasn't human. "It's a command center," Marcus said. His eyes narrowed. "For the weapons." Kivo's fur bristled. "What kind of weapons?" Marcus's hand hovered over the console. A thin line of text scrolled across the screen, written in an ancient alien language. His helmet translated the symbols instantly. "Planetary defense grid," Marcus muttered. His eyes sharpened. "Mass strikers, orbital cannons, plasma batteries." Kivo's golden eyes widened. "You're telling me we're standing on top of a giant gun?" Marcus nodded. His gaze darkened. "A very big gun." The sound of approaching claws echoed through the hallway behind them. Kivo's head snapped toward the noise. The red lights along the walls pulsed faster, casting jagged shadows across the chamber. "They're coming," Kivo hissed. Marcus's hand tightened around the plasma cutter. His injured arm throbbed. He forced himself to stand upright. "We need to activate the defense grid," Marcus said. Kivo's tail flicked. "You sure that's a good idea?" Marcus's eyes hardened. "We're out of options." A sudden mechanical growl filled the air. Marcus and Kivo turned toward the darkened hallway as the first hunter stepped into the light. Its red eyes glowed brightly beneath its sleek black armor. Long, serrated claws scraped against the floor as it stepped forward. Another hunter emerged behind it. And another. Marcus's grip on the plasma cutter tightened. "We buy time," he said quietly. Kivo's golden eyes narrowed. His claws slid from their sheaths. The first hunter lunged. Marcus fired the plasma cutter. The red beam sliced through the air, striking the hunter's chest. The machine staggered back, sparks erupting from the wound. Kivo darted toward the second hunter, his small frame twisting through the air. His claws sank into the machine's exposed wiring, and he twisted sharply. The hunter's head snapped back as its body convulsed. A third hunter charged. Marcus stepped forward, his injured arm trembling. He raised the plasma cutter, but his muscles locked up. The hunter's claws shot toward him. Kivo's small body slammed into Marcus's side, knocking him clear. The hunter's claws scraped against the floor, missing Marcus's head by inches. Kivo rolled to his feet and spun toward the hunter. His sharp claws struck the machine's exposed side, slicing through the outer plating. The hunter convulsed as sparks erupted from the wound. Marcus gritted his teeth and forced himself to stand. He lifted his left arm and pressed his palm against the console. The symbols flickered violently beneath his touch. The room shook as a deep mechanical hum resonated through the walls. "Kivo," Marcus shouted. Kivo twisted toward him. His golden eyes sharpened. "Buy me time," Marcus growled. Kivo's tail lashed. He lunged toward the nearest hunter, his claws flashing in the dim light. The machine swiped toward him, but Kivo's small frame twisted beneath the strike. Marcus's eyes narrowed as the symbols on the console scrolled rapidly. His helmet translated the data. Defense grid active. Targeting protocols offline. Manual override required. Marcus's hand hovered over the panel. His fingers trembled. His pulse hammered in his ears. "Kivo," Marcus shouted. Kivo's golden eyes darted toward him. "What?" "Get down." Marcus's hand slammed down on the console. The symbols flared brightly. A deafening mechanical roar filled the air. The floor beneath them trembled. Bright red light erupted from the ceiling. Dozens of thin red beams shot toward the hunters. The machines convulsed violently as the beams sliced through their armored frames. Sparks and molten metal erupted through the air. The hunters' red eyes flickered and died as their bodies collapsed to the floor. Kivo's chest heaved as he pushed himself to his feet. His fur was scorched, and his paws trembled. He looked toward Marcus. Marcus's breathing was ragged. His hand slid from the console. His injured arm hung limp at his side. His eyes darkened. "You did it," Kivo whispered. Marcus's gaze sharpened. "Not yet." Kivo's ears twitched. He turned toward the far side of the chamber. A single hunter stood in the doorway. Its frame was larger than the others. Its glowing red eyes pulsed with violent light. The machine stepped forward, its claws scraping against the floor. Marcus's grip on the plasma cutter tightened. "Kivo." Kivo's golden eyes narrowed. His tail lashed. "I see it." The hunter lunged. Marcus and Kivo moved as one. Marcus fired the plasma cutter. The red beam struck the hunter's chest, cutting deep into the metal frame. Kivo twisted beneath the machine's strike and drove his claws into its exposed wiring. The hunter's body convulsed as sparks erupted from the wound. Marcus darted forward. His injured arm throbbed painfully as he pulled the pulse grenade from his belt. He shoved the grenade into the hunter's chest cavity and kicked backward. "Down," Marcus shouted. Kivo hit the ground as the grenade detonated. A shockwave erupted through the chamber. The hunter's body exploded, sending molten debris and shattered metal through the air. Smoke poured from the wreckage. Marcus's chest heaved as he pulled himself to his feet. Kivo pushed himself upright beside him. "Now," Kivo muttered. Marcus's lips curled into a faint smile. "Now we're done." Smoke still hung in the air as Marcus leaned against the cracked wall of the chamber. His breath came hard and fast, his chest rising and falling with each ragged pull of air. His left arm throbbed painfully, blood seeping through the torn fabric of his undersuit. Sparks flickered from the remains of the last hunter, its twisted frame still smoking on the floor. The red glow of its eyes had dimmed to nothing. Kivo limped toward him, his fur matted and stained with soot and blood. His golden eyes were sharp despite the exhaustion in his movements. He shook his head, sending a thin cloud of dust from his fur. His small chest heaved as he wiped a clawed paw across his face. "That was close," Kivo muttered. Marcus gave a short, breathless laugh. "Too close." Kivo's gaze flicked toward the central console. The symbols on the screen were still glowing faintly, but the scrolling data had slowed. The hum beneath the floor had quieted to a low vibration. "Did it work?" Kivo asked. Marcus forced himself upright, wincing as pain shot through his shoulder. He pushed away from the wall and staggered toward the console. His hand hovered over the surface as the symbols flickered beneath his touch. His helmet translated the scrolling data. Defense grid restored. Manual targeting active. Awaiting command. Marcus's eyes darkened. He turned toward Kivo. "We have control of the defense grid." Kivo's ears perked up. "You mean?" Marcus's jaw tightened. "We can wipe out the hunter fleet." Kivo's fur bristled. He stepped toward the console, his sharp claws tapping against the metal floor. His golden eyes narrowed as the data flickered across the screen. "You're saying we can end this?" Kivo asked. Marcus's gaze hardened. "If we fire the orbital cannons now, we can take out the hunter fleet before they regroup." Kivo's gaze sharpened. His tail flicked. "What's the catch?" Marcus's hand hovered over the targeting controls. His lips tightened. "We're inside the blast radius." Kivo's tail lashed. "Oh." Marcus's gaze darkened. The defense grid was designed to protect this station from external threats. If we fire the cannons, the energy discharge will overload the station's shielding. Kivo's eyes widened. You're saying it'll blow us up? Marcus's lips curled faintly. More or less. Kivo's claws clicked against. Marcus's hand tightened into a fist. His mind raced through the options. The Hunter fleet was still in orbit. If they didn't act now, the Hunters would regroup and destroy what was left of the planet's defenses. The last of the resistance forces would be overrun. There wouldn't be another chance. Marcus's gaze darkened. He reached toward the console. Wait. Kivo's sharp voice cut through the silence. Marcus's hand froze inches from the controls. He turned toward the Otter. There has to be another way, Kivo said. His golden eyes flashed. We've come too far to die now. Marcus's gaze sharpened. His hand slid across the console as he pulled up the station's schematics. His helmet translated the alien text. A small pulse of light blinked on the map, a narrow service tunnel beneath the command center. Marcus's eyes narrowed as the data scrolled across the screen. There's an emergency ejection tunnel beneath the command center, Marcus said. Kivo's ears twitched. An escape route. Marcus's eyes narrowed. It's not designed for living cargo. Kivo's tail flicked. We'll take what we can get. Marcus's hand hovered over the console. The symbols on the screen glowed brighter beneath his touch. His jaw tightened. We won't have much time, Marcus said. Kivo's golden eyes flashed. His claws flexed. We don't need much. Marcus's hand slammed down on the console. The symbols flared brightly. A deep mechanical hum resonated through the floor. The walls shuddered as the targeting protocols engaged. Targeting Lockheed. Defense grid firing in 60 seconds. Marcus turned toward Kivo. Move. They sprinted toward the far side of the chamber. A section of the wall slid open with a deep mechanical hiss, revealing a narrow tunnel. Marcus shoved Kivo inside and followed close behind. The tunnel's smooth metal walls glowed faintly with thin strips of blue light. The hum of the station's power grid thrummed beneath their feet. 30 seconds. Marcus shouted. Kivo's claws scraped against the floor as he darted down the tunnel. His sharp eyes flicked toward a metal hatch at the far end. His tail flicked sharply. There, Kivo shouted. Marcus's legs burned as he pushed himself forward. His injured arm screamed with pain, but he ignored it. His pulse hammered in his ears. His breath came hard and fast as the countdown ticked away in his helmet's display. 10 seconds. Marcus slammed his hand against the hatch's control panel. The metal door slid open with a sharp hiss. Beyond it lay a narrow launch pod, barely big enough for two. Marcus shoved Kivo toward the pod. Get in. Kivo spun toward him. His golden eyes narrowed. What about you? Marcus's gaze darkened. Just get in. Kivo's ears flattened. His gaze sharpened. Then he lunged toward the pod. Marcus followed, his injured arm hanging limp at his side. He shoved Kivo into the narrow seat and climbed in after him. The pod's door sealed shut with a deep mechanical hiss. 5 seconds. Marcus's hand slammed against the launch controls. The pod vibrated as the launch system engaged. A sharp mechanical hum filled the air. 2 seconds. Marcus's jaw tightened. His eyes narrowed. 1 second. A blinding flash of light erupted across the viewports as the defense grid fired. Dozens of red beams shot through the darkness of space, striking the Hunter fleet with pinpoint accuracy. Massive explosions erupted across the blackness. Shattered debris and molten metal spiraled through the void as the Hunter's capital ships disintegrated under the assault. Marcus's grip tightened on the launch controls as the shockwave slammed into the pod. The small vessel spun violently. Marcus's head struck the side of the seat, his vision blurred. Kivo's claws dug into his arm as the pod shuddered violently. Then, silence. Marcus's breath came hard and fast. His eyes opened slowly. Through the pod's viewport, the remains of the Hunter fleet drifted silently through the darkness. Fiery debris spiraled through the blackness, trailing smoke and sparks. Kivo's breathless laugh echoed through the pod. We made it. Marcus's head fell back against the seat. A faint smile curled his lips. Yeah, Marcus said softly. We made it. Kivo's golden eyes flicked toward him. You know, for a human, you're not half bad. Marcus's smile widened. You're not so bad yourself. For an otter. Kivo's tail flicked. I'll take it. The pod drifted silently through the wreckage. Beyond the debris, the stars shone bright and steady